Good morning and welcome to the Connecting Nature Enterprise Summit being brought to you live from Poznań. My name is Natalia Madajczyk and I am the head of the team in Poznań City Hall, which is leading our city's involvement as one of the 10 cities implementing large-scale nature-based solutions as part of the Horizon 2020 Connecting Nature project. The 10 cities work with more than 20 other partners within the consortium. And we are delighted that Poznań has been asked to host the second summit of the Connecting Nature Summit series. It is wonderful to see that many of you that joined us at our first summit in Glasgow in March are back with us today, and we welcome all that are joining the summit series for the first time. What a program we have for you! With 26 different sessions, over 100 guest speakers, and workshops in Polish and English, I am sure you will find plenty to interest you over the 2 days. Today's theme is about building back better with nature. After our welcome session, we hand the floor over to the ambassadors of the communities of practice on the Connecting Nature Enterprise platform. Each of the ambassadors is an industry leader in their sector, and they have all developed a series of stimulating and informative workshops for you to participate in this morning. Our Polish workshops will also have English translation for those interested. This afternoon, join us for the policy dialogue on realizing the potential of the nature-based economy, where the first result of a new draft white paper of the European Commission will be debated and discussed. And not forgetting the nature-based enterprises from across the world who are with us as well. Come and see some of them pitch their products, services, and innovations later this afternoon, and call by the virtual expo booths to find out more from our featured enterprises. In addition, you will have plenty of opportunity to connect and make contacts during the random networking sessions programmed throughout the day. Also, I'd like to let you know about a poll we are running in the events area throughout the summit, where we would like to get your feedback on supports you feel are necessary to boost the market development of nature-based solutions. Please take a moment to complete. And last but certainly not least, I would like to acknowledge and thank for the support of everyone involved in making this summit happen, from our session chairs to our guest panelists and to the teams working behind the scenes. I hope you enjoyed the summit and make the most of it. And now I am delighted to hand over to Markus Collier, Chairman of the Connecting Nature High-Level Advisory Board, who will chair our opening session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia, and good morning and welcome everybody. I'm particularly delighted to welcome back, as Natalia just said, those of you who were able to join us at the Connecting Nature Nature-Based Enterprise Summit in Glasgow a few months ago. But I particularly want to welcome those of you for whom this is your first engagement with the Connecting Nature project, and also those of you who are just exploring the options, the ideas of what nature-based enterprises are. This is the second of our nature-based solutions summit. Poznań, as Natalia mentioned, is one of our Connecting Nature cities. It's one of our front-running cities, and we specifically chose Poznań as one of our cities because of its very high potential for delivering on nature-based solutions and some unique ideas that have emerged here, which we'll be hearing about in the next day or two. In Glasgow, we saw how nature-based solutions can give rise to different forms or diverse forms of innovation. But when it comes to innovation, there are rarely eureka moments. The majority of cases, the majority of innovations happen with close collaboration and co-creation. And this in turn can lead to different kinds of enterprise. And so this is what we're here to discuss and to explore over the next 2 days. The area of what we're calling nature-based enterprises. In Connecting Nature, we see the nature-based enterprises as a key mechanism for driving the nature-based economy, which will deliver the Green Deal, and some of our climate obligations as well. But that's all ahead of us in the next few days. But first of all, I'm delighted to welcome and introduce the mayor of Poznan, Jacek, I hope I get this right, I'm sorry, Jacek Jaśkowiak, to give us a presentation and welcome us to our the event. Jacek?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Connecting Nature Enterprise Summit, which the city of Poznań, as a proud partner of the Connecting Nature project, is happy to be hosting. While we had hoped to welcome you to our city in person, I am pleased that so many of you could join us online. The topic of our summit is nature-based enterprise. We will focus on the opportunities for growth in this new and developing sector, which have emerged as a consequence of the COVID pandemic and economic challenges aligned with the urgent need to address climate change. In this context, entrepreneurship based on natural solutions seems to be a complex remedy for recovery, as we all seek to build back better with nature. Nature-based entrepreneurship should be supported at all levels of decision-making process. I hope that the summit will be a good opportunity to analyze the many opportunities of the broad topic. Poznań is a city well known in Poland for its business spirit. Poznań is the city of innovation and entrepreneurship. Before being elected mayor of Poznań, I was a businessman myself. In Poznań, we have a great potential and, as in many cities, big challenges when it comes to the nature and natural solutions. We are delighted to be one of the leaders in this field of nature-based solution in Poland. In Poznań, we have delivered several initiatives that not only mitigate against climate change, but provide vital recreational and social amenities for our citizens, such as municipal river beaches, floating water gardens, and of course, the development of natural playgrounds in kindergartens. I'm particularly pleased that tomorrow we'll see the launch of a dedicated training program on the implementation of nature-based solution in cities, which will have a direct impact on job creation and new opportunities for the participation. We look forward to seeing the many interesting business solutions that will emerge in the near future. I wish you a fruitful and enjoyable participation and exchange of the Enterprise Summit. And now let me invite you to the experiences Poznań in the short movie presenting our city and its natural background. And I hope I'm able to do the film, okay?
Panie i Panowie, szanowni goście Connecting Nature Enterprise Summit. To dla mnie zaszczyt, że spotykamy się w Poznaniu. Chciałbym Państwu pokazać jego przyrodnicze atuty. Zapraszam na małą wycieczkę po naszym mieście.
Kręgosłupem miasta jest rzeka Warta, która przecina Poznań na dwie niemal równe części. Wokół niej od średniowiecza rozwijały się osady, które teraz tworzą półmilionową aglomerację.
Poznań jest miastem, którego około 40% powierzchni wciąż zajmują tereny biologicznie czynne. Należą tutaj lasy komunalne, tereny otwarte i tereny zieleni urządzonej. Charakterystycznym elementem struktury przestrzennej są kliny zieleni, które z założenia miały przenikać miasto od jego zewnętrznych granic, gdzie miały łączyć się z lasami podmiejskimi, aż do gęsto zabudowanego śródmieścia.
To jedyne tego typu założenie urbanistyczne w Europie. Zaprojektowali je niemal 100 lat temu Władysław Czarnecki i Adam Wodziczko. Głównym celem systemu klinów jest ochrona wód i przewietrzanie miasta. Większość terenów pokryta jest przez lasy, pozostałe stanowią parki, cmentarze i ogródki działkowe. Klin północny zwany jest Naramowickim, południowy Dębińskim, zachodni Golęcińskim, a wschodni Cybińskim.
Główny szlak, który łączy północny klin zieleni z południowym, prowadzi wzdłuż Warty. Na jej brzegach tworzymy miejsca przyjazne do rekreacji. Z Dębca na Naramowice wiedzie ścieżka pieszo-rowerowa, którą nazywamy Wartostradą. Po drodze mijamy Stare Miasto, gdzie powstały plaże miejskie, kluby i miejsca wypoczynku.
Uzupełnieniem systemu klinów zieleni miały być zielone pierścienie. Pierścienie zieleni jako twór sztuczny, antropogeniczny nie przetrwały próby czasu. Zachował się tylko fragment wewnętrznego pierścienia, tak zwany ring Sztybena w centrum miasta, do którego należą m.in. parki Chopina i Mickiewicza.
Zieleń pokryła także dawne fortyfikacje z XIX wieku. Cytadela czy Fort VII to nie tylko miejsca pamięci, częściowo zaadoptowane na obiekty muzealne, ale też zielone płuca miasta. W granicach Poznania znajdują się również liczne stawy i jeziora. Każdy z nich wyróżnia się wyjątkowymi walorami przyrodniczymi i krajoznawczymi. W miejscach szczególnie ważnych powstaje infrastruktura rekreacyjna, która w bezpieczny i ekologiczny sposób uświadamia mieszkańców o przyrodniczych atutach Poznania.
Strategia rozwoju przestrzennego miasta silnie opiera się na ochronie terenów cennych przyrodniczo. Naszym zadaniem jest tą ochronę wzmacniać poprzez uchwalanie kolejnych dokumentów. Począwszy od dokumentów o charakterze ogólnym, jakim jest studium kierunków i uwarunkowań miasta Poznania, a skończywszy na szczegółowych planach miejscowych. Na przykład na najbliższą sesję Rady Miasta Poznania w imieniu pana prezydenta skierujemy miejscowy plan zagospodarowania przestrzennego, którego głównym celem jest ochrona Parku Cytadela, jednego z najistotniejszych obszarów przyrodniczych dla naszego miasta.
Troszczymy się o przyszłe pokolenia, dlatego już teraz stawiamy na rozwiązania przyjazne środowisku. To nasz priorytet, by Poznań pozostał zielonym miastem.
Well, that's a fantastic video. It just shows you how we would have really wished that we could have been there at in Poznan to show you this in person. And particularly since we had originally planned to have a rather nice refreshments at the beach one of the evenings, but unfortunately we can't. We'll have more on the Poznan's nature-based solutions, especially looking at things like the unique playgrounds, nature-based playgrounds in the kindergarten that we've developed in the project. That'll be tomorrow morning. And the enormous potential that nature-based solution has for bringing communities, especially children, much closer to nature. Now, on that topic, I should mention that Connecting Nature is funded through the European Union Horizon 2020 programme. And so we're delighted to have a speaker from the European Commission here today. John Bell is up next, who is the Director of Healthy Planet in the European Commission. Over to you, John.
Good morning, Marcus. Good morning, Europe. And as we're in Poznan this morning, Dzień dobry Poznan, miasto naturalnie innowacji. Good morning, Poznan, a city of natural innovation. So my name is John Bell. I'm the director of the Healthy Planet team in the Research and Innovation Department of the Commission, who are responsible for creating the Horizon Europe program and supporting the work that we're celebrating today here in this great event. And what I'd like to talk about very briefly this morning is this extraordinarily opportune moment in which we find ourselves, in which nature-based solutions are moving right to the center of the agenda. So when we're talking about connecting nature and working across the cities of Europe, this is a very timely discussion. We've moved on since Glasgow. What we can see at the political level, the economic level, the reconciliation of the biosphere and the economy, of course, is the century's great task. The European Green Deal, which is the European Union's preparation for 30 years of transformation to bring ourselves back into line with the needs of the planet and the needs of climate and the needs of people and the economy, is a systemic shift to make these transformative changes happen. And nature-based solutions are going to move from being niche to norm. Nature-based solutions will be a much more ambitious part of the next economy, the next markets, the next society, the next businesses, the next way in which we live our lives. Because we're in the business of renaturalizing our economy, our society, and our environment. So our event today is extremely timely, and it's moving to the center of attention, and I encourage you to really be as engaged and as ambitious as possible in taking this forward. So we know that this reconciliation of the biosphere and the economy, the creation of, if you like, a new paradigm in which we operate, is at the center of most of the thinking of policy, science, and society. And of course, half of the world's GDP, one way or the other, is moderately or highly dependent on nature. We know that our economies, our livelihoods, our well-being depend on nature in some kind of abstract way. But we need to see how our enterprises can be working on nature-based solutions that bring together the kind of solutions we need to have in terms of working between nature, climate, people, and the economy. I think it was Secretary General of the United Nations recently said that the task of our time is to make peace with nature. But to make peace with nature, we need to find solutions in nature and to work with nature. So we need an economy that's more respectful of nature and its boundaries. We need a nature positive economy. And I think part of what we're going to see and hear about today is the beginning of a movement where we simply stop talking about natural capital and see the evolution of a kind of a natural capitalism in which these two great forces of human endeavor and nature work together. Because to make peace with nature, we need to base our solutions on nature. Now, you know, the European Commission has been a great champion of nature-based solutions, and in research and innovation, I think nature-based solutions are a very good example of what is being asked of people in the world of research and innovation. We can no longer stand outside the changes that are ahead. Research and innovation, whether it's of the very scientific kind or of the social kind, needs to set direction. It needs to take risks. It needs to show examples. It needs to share success. And what nature-based solutions are increasingly recognized as a fundamental part of action for climate and biodiversity. It's moved, if you like, from the concept stage into the living stage, including the G7, the G20 declarations, the world leaders' pledge for nature, and the draft global biodiversity framework, to name but a few. Now, at the heart of the European Union's Green Deal, we're looking for a transformative change of major systems, whether they're the systems through which we receive our food, we work at biodiversity, our water systems, the way in which our economy has to become circular, the neighborhoods and cities that we live in. All of these are going to require nature-based solutions as a key component of transformational change. We see this in the EU Climate Pact, where you're encouraged to sign up and make a difference to this transformation for climate. The new and very ambitious EU Biodiversity Strategy for 2030 and the new EU Climate Adaptation Strategy are absolutely dependent on finding entirely new ways of particularly dealing with nature-based challenges, and this is the solutions that we will need at scale for the first time in human history. We are trying to design, this is a transition by design, and nature has to be at the heart of it. There is also the new European Bauhaus, where there's a move from President von der Leyen to bring together access, design, and sustainability in the way in which we design the places in which we live and work. We're also coming out of this terrible period in European history that we have at the moment, where people are looking at the next steps post-COVID, and across Europe, the way out of this is together, and the way out of this is to invest in building forward better. Recovery is an extraordinary opportunity to build and regenerate our societies, to create renewable economies, and to build, I think, in particular at local level, which is where most of us have experienced this change, the benefits for cities and their citizens. I think this is going to be a key crossroads in terms of whether the recovery and the way in which we invest in recovery works for society. Any of us, wherever you are, whatever part of Europe you're sitting in or listening in this morning, the last year or two has really been about experiencing nature, whether it's a window box if you're living in an apartment, or a local park, or your own garden, or your neighborhood where a few trees have been planted. We now understand, I think, for the first time, that access to nature is a public good. And it's something that has to be accessible to citizens wherever they live, in whatever circumstances they live. It plays a hugely important role. We've seen public nature-based solutions in our urban parks and green spaces, rivers and lakes, as Mayor Jaskowiak was showing there in the video. It's around us, and it's been a way of sustaining our way through this. It's a lesson, I think, for the way in which we will have to live in the future. And we should not have to get out of the city to enjoy and reconnect with nature. We should make space inside the city so as not to privilege the lucky few, but, as I said, to make access to nature a public good through public spaces. And I think if you look at the work that's coming on climate adaptation in particular, and the development of the cities, we need to rethink and redesign our public spaces using nature to support and protect us, not simply for leisure, but to manage the risks that we have in an increasingly hot, cold, wet and dry environment. And of course, the European Union is working together to financially support this. The Recovery and Resilience Facility, which is the centerpiece of what we call Next Generation EU, will provide unprecedented support to reforms and investments across the European Union member states, with a total value of 723 billion. That's a huge number. There's a wall of money that is there where you live, in your regions, in your governments, and it's coming. So there's a once in a generation opportunity for a nature-based recovery. And again, you can see the importance of your insights and discussions today. And many of the jobs which are linked to the recovery are not always the most high-skilled jobs. There's also low-skilled jobs in building these shovel-ready projects and offering a chance to reach those who've been hardest hit by the pandemic quickly. So it really is an opportunity that we cannot miss. Local actors, in particular local decision makers and community leaders, I think will play an increasing role in unlocking this potential, making sure that the money flows in the right direction, and actively supporting local nature-based solution projects in their constituencies. You'll see this today. I've seen it across Europe. It's quite extraordinary what's happening when you give local communities the means and the insight and the knowledge and the funding to improve their neighborhoods using nature. Now, we're also seeing the emergence of a natural entrepreneurship. A report from UNEP launched in May this year, entitled "The State of Finance for Nature," estimates that investments in nature-based solutions need to triple by the end of the decade, by 2030 in the world, if the world is going to meet its climate change, biodiversity and land restoration targets. It also underlines the importance of getting more research done and on how much we need to invest in natural assets. Private financing can be strengthened in what are low-hanging investment opportunities in the recovery phase. But of course, what we're seeing here is a shift in context. We're going to have to use public funds, research and innovation, communities working together to change the thinking on what is an asset and what is an investment. We're going to have to de-risk what are relatively strange and new ideas to the financial community, although the European Investment Bank, as the climate bank, is looking carefully at all of these issues. We're going to need to demonstrate what works. We're going to need to deploy the solutions in real places, and we're going to need to demonstrate and disseminate the solutions across Europe. So a better understanding and awareness is needed across the society of the value of nature and the risks of inaction, and of the possibility of solutions. This is where science is key for effective incentive schemes and regulatory measures. Now, we'll continue in Horizon Europe and research and innovation to support nature-based solutions through Horizon Europe, including on the social sciences at the service of transformational change. The first work programs, as you probably know, have just been launched, and they will build on the outcomes of the current Horizon 2020 projects with a number of opportunities for nature-based solutions. So wherever you are in Europe, please take a strong look at this. We will have information days in July, which will give you an opportunity to make contacts with people across Europe, as you see in a project like this. Nature-based solutions feature also prominently in Horizon Europe's Biodiversity Partnership, which is a very promising integration of ecosystems and actors across Europe. And it will also play a central part in Horizon Europe's Green Deal missions, notably the one on adaptation to climate change, where nature-based solutions are seen as a key solution for resilience building across critical sectors such as infrastructure, food, and health. These Green Deal missions, a decision will be taken on them this week, and they're an attempt to create earth shots where we can convene society through research and innovation in making transformative change possible in a decade. Nature-based solutions for the resilience of communities will also be implemented in the mission Starfish 2030, which aims to restore our oceans and waters by 2030, exploring carbon sequestration through the restoration of marine and freshwater ecosystems, such as oyster reefs, kelp forests, wetlands, and salt marshes. Now, on these missions, again, there'll be an amendment to the work program if they go ahead this year. We're looking at, in many cases, nature-based solutions working with ecosystems and infrastructures on a scale that we have never attempted before. So again, I'd call on the community to take a good look at these missions as and when they are launched in the autumn. Nature-based solutions economy will also be included in the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership for a blue upon people to work in harmony with nature towards climate neutrality. We need innovative solutions. So to wrap up here, we're moving to, I think, a critical moment in which nature-based solutions find their moment at the center of this great transformative change. We need cities, we need researchers, we need citizens, we need businesses, we need entrepreneurs to take this different thinking and mainstream it in the way in which we build solutions and build back better for a better community, a better Europe, and a better set of cities, countrysides, and settings. And there's a unique opportunity for the local and regional decision makers to take this opportunity to open up your towns and cities for nature, to ride the wave of the recovery packages and make that investment. And they must be science-based to build forward better and fully integrate nature into the choices they make. And I warmly invite you to attend the information session on Horizon Europe funding for nature-based solutions tomorrow. Information is also a public good. And there we can start the process of making peace with nature and making business with nature. And for cities such as Poznan, to make peace with nature, nature-based solutions will regenerate our neighborhoods, our businesses, and our future. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very successful day. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, John. Quite a thought-provoking and wonderful presentation there, because it's great to see that the European Union is increasing its interest in this area at an exponential rate. And indeed, it could be argued that the European Union, European funders are certainly becoming world leaders in this area of nature-based the nature-based economy. Well, what I'd like to do now is just take a step forward there and talk about or look at what we mean by nature-based enterprises. I'm delighted to introduce Esme from my colleague here at Trinity College, who has undertaken much of the research that we're on what we're now calling nature-based enterprises that underpin the Connecting Nature entrepreneurship strategies within our cities. So over to you, Esme, if you could just tell us more about your research and its impact.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. So my name is Esme Kooijman, and I'm researcher within the Connecting Nature projects and in Trinity College Dublin. Let's see if my slides are working here. So today I'm going to tell you something about my research on nature-based enterprises. But before I get stuck into that, I quickly wanted to give you a little overview of what Connecting Nature is. So Connecting Nature is a consortium of 30 partners throughout Europe, and the partners consist of local authorities, communities, industry partners, NGOs, and academics. And the main goal of Connecting Nature is a large-scale implementation of nature-based solutions in urban settings. Yes, and one of the main outcomes of Connecting Nature so far is the Connecting Nature framework for the implementation of nature-based solutions. And we identify 3 phases in this implementation. So first we have the planning phase. So this is design of nature-based solutions. Then we have the delivery phase, which is the actual implementation and the construction of a solution. And then we have the stewardship phase, which is more the long-term maintenance of the nature-based solution. And of course, we already heard some great examples from one of the Connecting Nature cities in Poznan. So each of these 3 phases consists of 7 different elements that are needed for the successful implementation of nature-based solutions. And today I'm just going to focus on one, which is the nature-based enterprises. So yes, what are nature-based enterprises? The question of the day, I think. So nature-based enterprises use nature as a core element of their products and service offering. And in this, nature can be used directly by either growing, harnessing, harvesting, or restoring natural resources. And in this, the use of nature needs to be sustainable, of course, and contribute to biodiversity net gain. And in our research, we found that the following categories of, or kind of the following sectors kind of use nature directly. So we have, oh, sorry, my slides are a bit messed up, but I will just call them out for you. So the first one is ecosystem restoration and management, which includes land, marine, and freshwater ecosystems, of course. We have MBS for public spaces, which includes parks, for instance. MBS for green buildings, like living green walls. We have MBS for water management, which includes sustainable urban drainage systems, but also natural water treatment. Then there's sustainable forestry activities, sustainable agriculture, including regenerative agriculture, sustainable tourism, and lastly, we have MBS for health and well-being. And an example of this is forest bathing, for instance. But next to organizations or enterprises that use nature directly in their activities, we also found there's quite a lot of enterprises involved indirectly in the implementation of nature-based solutions. And this could be, they could contribute to, for instance, the planning, delivery, and the stewardship phase. So I want to quickly zoom in on a few here as well. So of course, advisory services are very important. And you can think of not only, for instance, a landscape design company, but also of organizations that do community engagement for co-creation of nature-based solutions, for instance. And of course, because nature-based solutions are relatively novel, there's still a lot of education, research, and innovation activities in this field as well, of course. And as we hear more about the benefits of nature-based solutions, we also hear more about how difficult it is to monitor them and to assess them. So smart technology, monitoring and assessment technologies are getting increasingly important of not only monitoring nature in general and biodiversity in general, but also the impact of nature-based solutions. And lastly, we have financial services for nature-based solutions, which includes, for instance, offsetting programs, but also nature investment programs and natural capital accounting. So of course, the question is now why nature-based enterprises, and I think the previous speakers already have kind of made the case for this, but I will quickly summarize what we found in our research. So yeah, so we mentioned before, the demand of nature-based solution is increasing because the concept of nature-based solution has become more mainstreamed, and also because they are more central in a lot of climate policies, of course, and biodiversity policies. And previous research found as well that finding skilled and experienced suppliers of nature-based solutions is actually a major roadblock in the wider uptake of these solutions. And another thing that is a very big barrier for nature-based solutions is the financing, and especially the financing on the long term for the stewardship phase and the maintenance phase of nature-based solutions. And how can nature-based enterprises help in that. So nature-based enterprises can support cities, the private sector, and third sector organizations in those 3 phases of the implementation of nature-based solutions, so the planning, delivery, and management. And in Connecting Nature, we're working together with the 10 cities as well on specific strategies to support entrepreneurship in all their cities, as all of them, of course, also have experienced those barriers of that finding skilled and experienced suppliers is quite difficult, and financing of MBS is quite challenging. And of course, as John Bell just mentioned before as well, nature-based enterprises not only support climate change and biodiversity policy, but also generate benefits for local economies, communities, and the wider environment, including or health and well-being, of course. So there's quite a case to make to support nature-based solutions. I'll give you some examples now. Okay, I wanted to give you a few examples of nature-based enterprises in the implementation strategies in cities before I go on to my next slide, which has some of the resources. So an example of a nature-based enterprise in the planning phase would be a nature-based landscape architecture company, for instance. In the delivery phase, this would be a horticulture contractor, for instance, so that actually would construct the MBS. And in the stewardship phase, it could be a social enterprise or community group that takes over the management of a nature-based solution. And within Connecting Nature and with the Connecting Nature cities, we're looking into building entrepreneurship strategies for all 3 of those phases. So yeah, and then on to my last slide. So of course, there's a lot of sessions coming up on the summit on the support of nature-based enterprises. But I also wanted to show you a few resources that we have within Connecting Nature to get you started on either if you're a company that wants to work more on this, or if you are a city or local authority that wants to support nature-based enterprises. So we have the Connecting Nature guidebooks, including the one on the framework that I mentioned before. We have a financing and business model guidebook and a nature-based enterprise guidebook where you can read more about the different activities. And then there's also the nature-based enterprise platform. And this is a global database of enterprises and also includes community of practice, which are led by industry leaders, of course, and will have their sessions just after this one as well, of course. So if you are interested in one of the activities or sectors that I presented before, then yeah, stick around, I would say. So yeah, I think that was all. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Esme. Appreciate that. Very interesting. And just to say to you all again, if it hasn't been said already, feel free to add your comments to the chat, and we will do our best over the next few days to address these comments. It's helpful for us to know what you're looking for and what you're trying to why you're here and what you'd like to find out more, who you'd like to meet. So let us know, and we will address that as much as we can over the sessions, and also the materials will be like for example what Esme was showing are available as well. We'll be posting them. To return to the beautiful town hall of Poznan now, I'd like to welcome back Agnieszka, who is with our Connecting Nature team in the city of Poznan, to talk about the nature-based entrepreneurial strategy in the city. Thank you, Agnieszka.
Thank you, Marcus. Good morning to everybody. I'm glad to be with you today and share a few words on Poznań nature-based entrepreneurship strategy. What is the role of the city in the development of the nature-based economy? In case of Poznań, we create conditions for the development of entrepreneurship in the sector of nature-based solutions, stimulating implementation of these solutions in the city. We can sum up this strategy in a few words. Pilot activities, including experiments and evaluation, inspiration, information, and education. Nature-based solutions concept developed in Poznań include, for example, natural playgrounds in Poznań kindergartens and schools, also sharing green urban spaces with residents, such as an open garden in kindergarten. But also we are opening family allotment gardens. We are creating a concept of winter garden inside buildings, as well as we introduced floating gardens in densely built up city centers in various types of water reservoirs like rivers and ponds. By carrying out these activities, we learn together with subcontractors. Let me just a moment. My presentation. Oh yes, that's the right one slide. By carrying out these activities, we learn together with subcontractors to implement mentioned nature-based solutions and the challenges and needs of this sector. We verify the results and make decisions on upscaling pilot activities in the city, paying attention to their effectiveness and maintenance. We analyze and implement business models based on cooperation with the private sector. We look for nature-based solution financial alternative to municipal budgets and EU financing. The example of connecting nature framework for natural playgrounds shows the holistic approach we introduced to our exemplars of nature-based solutions in Poznań. Focusing on education and information, we are starting tomorrow a series of trainings on specific nature-based solutions. We are starting with natural playgrounds, the concept of which we've been developing and increasing the scale for several years. The training cycle will cover 3 levels: the level of planning, the level of implementation, and stewardship. Each of the areas is associated with a different target group of entrepreneurs and organizations, and with a different experience we had. In coming years, we will share knowledge and experience. We connect contractors and ordering parties in municipality, and encourage companies and organizations from Poznań to specialize in providing nature-based products and services. So you are all very welcome tomorrow to join a Polish training session on natural playgrounds and in public space, and that will be translated to English. And this workshop will be dedicated to planning phase. We invite you as well to see all the materials available in the conference expo zone and to contact the Connecting Nature team at Poznań City Hall if your company or your organization is interested in developing knowledge and cooperation in the field of nature-based solutions implemented by Connecting Nature Poznań team. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a good and fruitful time spent during Enterprise Summit. Over to you, Marcus.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Agnieszka. I really appreciate that. We're running a little bit behind time, so I'll just quickly introduce we have a video up next. Unfortunately, the mayor, Francisco de la Torres of Malaga, can't be with us in person today. Malaga is one of the Connecting Nature cities that is implementing large-scale nature-based solutions and is developing interesting initiatives in this area of the nature-based economy. And so the mayor here has now sent us a short video which highlights Malaga's entrepreneurial strategy for nature-based enterprises.
Good morning to everyone participating in this Enterprise Summit, the second of the Connecting Nature Summit series and hosted by the city of Poznań. The city of Malaga is proud to be a partner to ProMalaga. There is no doubt that sustainability and quality of life are priorities now and in the future that will guide government actions at all levels, from mayor to regional and national authorities in every country. Sustainability is a broad concept, and here in Malaga we have been working for many years on policies that emphasize the improvement of the urban environment. Issues such as individual and collective mobility, sustainable construction, air quality, the limitation of noise in acoustically saturated areas, the definition of homogeneous indicator and urban planning, or all topics in which Malaga already has experience. A few weeks ago, the City Council approved the Panaga Climate Plan for 2050, which is called Alicia, and in which carbon neutrality is expected to be reached by 2050 as established in the urban agenda. This municipal plan is perfectly aligned with the European Commission document, European Green Agreement, presented at COP25 in December 2019. Of course, all of this plan and policy are inspired by the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. At the same time, we are also increasingly interested and invested in nature-based solutions and in the potential of nature as a driver of the economy. The theme of this summit is therefore very appropriate. In Malaga, we are delighted to have established a cluster for nature-based solutions, led by ProMalaga and involving nature-based enterprise from across the city. The purpose of the cluster is to strengthen the visibility of it and increase opportunities for nature-based enterprise. The City Hall encourages all initiatives regarding nature-based solutions in order to improve people's daily lives and to develop a nature-based economy through all kinds of projects and activities. Without a doubt, during these difficult times where the pandemic has had such an impact on our lives, both in health and in the economic sphere, proposals like the ones presented here make a lot of sense. Nature-based solutions should be an engine for economic development and for activity that foster the creation of new companies in different sectors, as well as educate people who can apply for quality jobs in this sector. For the mentioned, I congratulate the organizer of the European Program Connecting Nature for this summit in Poznan and wish all the participants much success. I look forward to hearing the conclusion of your discussion over the next 2 days. Finally, we hope to see you soon in our city, but in the meantime, greetings from sunny Malaga.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Very interesting. So we're running a little bit behind. So I just want to say it was delightful to hear such enthusiasm from two mayors of European cities speaking so enthusiastically about nature-based solutions, nature-based enterprises, and also how the Commission is really focusing on the multiple co-benefits of the green economy, and it's really, really encouraging. So you're not here to listen to me talk about this today. You're here to visit and see and speak with these communities of practice. And so we're now, over the next 2 days, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to engage and to network. I strongly urge you, as considering it's difficult over the internet, strongly urge you to develop new networks or strengthen your existing networks of collaborators during this session, this summit, and really enjoy and give us as much feedback as you possibly can to help us to bring the green economy, the nature-based economy, to closer reality as we go forward in this project. So thank you to all our presenters this morning. Thank you so much for organizing this. And without further ado, I would encourage you to start into our sessions area and join our communities of practice. Thank you very much and enjoy the summit.